You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Aide tries to sell Trump's unmatched energy. But Americans aren't buying it, based on an article by Matthew Rosser. Trump's decline is not the story. The cover for it is. The source material. The reporting centers on a new poll showing 46% of Americans rate Trump's mental sharpness as poor, alongside renewed warnings from psychiatrists and public concern about his control over the nuclear arsenal. The White House answered by praising Trump and deflecting onto Democrats and the legacy media, accusing them of hiding Biden's decline. Power sits with the president. This is the part the public is supposed to forget. Trump is not our commentator, and he is not our victim of the press cycle. He is the president. He holds institutional power over the executive branch, the cabinet, and, as the source notes, the use of nuclear weapons in wartime. That fact matters more than the White House's self-congratulatory press release. The relevant question is not whether aides can recite flattery on demand. The question is who can actually restrain a dangerous president. In the article's own terms, the answer is bleak: a loyalist cabinet and Congress that, as Dr. Henry Abraham put it, do not lead so much as follow. The real enablers, the decisions that matter, are not being made by poll respondents. They are being made by the people around Trump who keep the machine moving anyway. The source points to the 25th Amendment, impeachment, or resignation as the only political remedies on the table. That is the correct frame. If a president is unfit, the burden is on the institution to act, not on the public to absorb the spectacle. What enables the situation is not confusion. It is submission. A cabinet built to serve a man rather than the office, and a Congress too timid or too complicit to enforce constitutional guardrails, turns a fitness crisis into a managed public relations problem. The Biden detour. The White House line is obvious misdirection. Davis Ingley tries to launder Trump's problem by dragging Biden back into the frame, claiming Democrats and the media covered up Biden's decline. That may be useful partisan junk, but it does not answer the present danger. This is a classic move: take a specific failure of one administration and use it to excuse the active misconduct of the next. The point is not accountability. The point is to poison the public record until all decline looks interchangeable and all responsibility looks shared. It is propaganda by comparison shopping. What the poll actually shows, the poll data, is not a distraction. It is evidence that the public can see the problem even when elites pretend not to. Nearly half of Americans rating Trump's sharpness as poor is not a minor blemish. It is a sign that the administration's legitimacy is being questioned in plain view. That is also why the White House response is so revealing. Instead of addressing the substance, it reached for praise, denial, and partisan deflection. That is what institutions do when they cannot defend the underlying reality. They try to control the narrative long enough to avoid consequences. The larger pattern is grimly familiar: authoritarian vulnerability wrapped in performative strength, with surrounding institutions too compromised to intervene until the damage is undeniable. The article's strongest point is not the polling. It is the implication that the system is built to tolerate obvious deterioration as long as the right people remain loyal. That is the lesson. Power is not preserved by competence here. It is preserved by discipline, denial, and the willingness of subordinate institutions to pretend the emperor is sharp because admitting otherwise would force action. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AltaNet for today's article, with its automated voice of Bryce. Thanks for listening.